Get ready to dive into the story. Let's jump right in! A holy angel descended to Earth, her radiant beauty leaving everyone in awe. The crowd stood mesmerized, but one man pushed forward with determination. Without hesitation, he struck the angel with force, breaking her wings. The bystanders gasped in shock, unable to comprehend such an act. However, only he knew the truth. This angel was no divine being, but a ruthless killer who took pleasure in destruction. This man, Tongi, had lived through 98 reincarnations. In his 99th life, he had become the strongest human, wielding only a scythe, and was the last survivor of mankind. He had fought endlessly, reaching the final stage where he was supposed to end everything. But just as he was about to complete his mission, a system notification appeared before him, stating that the boss room required at least 5 players to open. The condition was unmet, and as a result, he was doomed to perish. As his body began to fade, Tongi let out a bitter laugh. From the very beginning, the outcome had already been decided against him. Yet, despite his imminent demise, there was no regret in his eyes. Within seconds, a mechanical voice echoed, announcing that he had activated the return rune. However, the rune had reached its limit, signaling the start of his final reincarnation. At that moment, in H country, people were joyfully celebrating the new year when the night sky was suddenly engulfed in a dazzling light. A divine figure slowly descended, glowing with a celestial presence. At first, the onlookers struggled to believe what they were witnessing. The angel simply smiled, pleased by their reactions. But before she could speak, someone among the crowd voiced their skepticism, dismissing the scene as an elaborate act. Without hesitation, a blinding light shot from the angel's eyes, and the doubter's head exploded instantly. The horrifying sight sent shockwaves through the crowd, their excitement turning into sheer terror. Despite the chaos, Tongi remained unmoved. Even after 100 lifetimes, he still found this so-called angel nothing more than a nuisance. As panic spread, the angel declared that their souls would now participate in a 20-level game. Completing the assigned tasks would grant them rich rewards and a return to the real world. Failure, however, would not be an option. Before anyone could react, the entire crowd was teleported to a vast game arena. A notification appeared before each player, indicating a gift prepared by the angel. Tongi opened his system panel, checking his status. As expected, he had received the return rune, but this time, a new message appeared. The rune imprint failed. The system had detected that he had returned 100 times, granting him a new title, Final Retrogressor. With this title, he could revive any location with full health after death, but the ability would disappear after a single use. Shock ran through him. Revival was typically an ability restricted to priests, and even then, it only restored a fraction of health. Yet, here he was, granted a one-time resurrection with full strength. While the other players examined their gifts, the angel gave the signal to begin. A mission notification appeared. Eliminate 100 goblins. Moments later, goblins spawned throughout the arena. At first, the players seemed relieved. The creatures were small and appeared weak, making the challenge seem no different from a game. However, the angel observed their confidence with amusement. Then, without warning, beams of light shot down from the sky, flooding the battlefield. The number of humans stood at 10,000, but the goblins outnumbered them at 50,000. The game had begun. While the players hesitated, Tongi stepped forward. Using his long legs to his advantage, he delivered a powerful kick, crushing a goblin instantly. The others watched in awe. In a team setting, showing strength was the best way to avoid trouble. At the same time, drawing the angel's attention was crucial. Facing 2 goblins attacking together, Tongi moved swiftly, dispatching them with precise, fluid strikes. His speed was astonishing, leaving bystanders speechless. His confidence even inspired some players, who felt encouraged to fight despite knowing they weren't as strong. But just as someone voiced their determination, a flash of green light streaked through the air. In an instant, the player fell lifeless, struck down by a goblin. Panic spread like wildfire. The illusion of an easy game shattered, and survival became the only goal. Screams echoed through the battlefield as players scattered, desperately trying to escape. In his first reincarnation, Tongi had made the same mistake. Only after countless deaths did he realize. Until the task was completed, there was no escape. Amidst the chaos, the angel watched with amusement, occasionally glancing at the one figure who remained calm. Tongi had already completed 70% of the task in just a short time. She narrowed her eyes, slightly annoyed. His black scythe ability had blocked all unnecessary system information, allowing him to focus solely on the mission. Though it was a minor inconvenience, she quickly dismissed the thought. Guiding these humans was beneath her, but watching them struggle was always entertaining. Before long, Tongi had reached level 4. Each level up granted 2 attribute points, all of which he allocated to agility. Increased agility not only improved his dodging ability, but also enhanced his attack and movement speed. Soon, a system notification announced the first player to complete the task.
Congratulations!
Task completed. Ranking first in completion time across the area. Early completion grants better rewards. As the top player in the area, Tongi received a low-level weapon selection voucher. Additionally, for ranking first in the entire region, he was granted a special reward, which he chose to save for later. Using the voucher, he obtained the steel shortsword, the best beginner weapon available. Several hours passed, and many players finally completed their tasks. However, a new problem arose. There were no goblins left. The angel, unimpressed, finally spoke. She admitted she had underestimated them but wouldn't make the same mistake again. With a wave of her hand, she spread her wings, summoning a new horde. This time, 100,000 goblins filled the battlefield. Despair returned. The cycle of carnage began once more. By the time the battle ended, only 5,000 players remained. The angel congratulated them, allowing a brief return home before the next round. The system then displayed the player rankings: first place at Black the Sin Place Foolish Egg, third place at Pegasus. As a reward, each surviving player received 1,000 gold coins, which could be used once the in-game shop unlocked at level 10. Seeing the rankings, the angel raised an eyebrow in surprise. She hadn't expected the first place player to come from her own area. Curiously, she questioned whether Tongi had acquired some powerful rune, but he simply laughed and invited her to check his system panel for herself. The angel hesitated for a moment but quickly masked her surprise, pretending she had expected this all along. Tongi, sensing that she had taken the bait, made his move. He boldly requested a better reward for securing first place overall. The crowd reacted in shock. No one had ever dared to negotiate with an angel, let alone demand extra benefits. The angel herself was momentarily stunned by his audacity. If only her earlier power hadn't been a one-time use, she would have crushed him on the spot. But instead of acting out, she suddenly had an idea. Feigning amusement, she told the others to wait while she had a private conversation with Tongi. Leading him away from the group, she brought him deep into a secluded forest. There, with no witnesses around, she planned to kill him without facing any consequences. Just as she found the perfect moment to strike, she was caught off guard by a powerful punch. The impact sent her crashing into the trees before she even realized what had happened. Furious, she looked around, but Tongi was nowhere in sight. Suddenly, a large hand wrapped around her throat from behind, squeezing tightly. Before she could react, another hand grabbed her wings and ripped them off mercilessly. As she gasped in pain, Tongi pulled out a dagger hidden within her wings and smirked. He calmly remarked, "Miss Brielle, were you planning to ambush me with this?" The angel's eyes widened in shock. Not only did he know about the dagger, but he also knew her true name. Seeing him hold the weapon so casually made her uneasy. She tried to threaten him, warning that if he moved even an inch closer, she would make his head explode. But Tongi's next words left her completely stunned. "Miss Brielle, no matter how you threaten me, you won't escape." With lightning speed, he moved in. His dagger pierced straight through her body before she could even react. A system notification immediately popped up. "Congratulations, you have defeated an angel. As the first player to accomplish this, you receive Angel's Blood, the Slaughter Rune, and the title Angel Slayer." Tongi had been after Angel's Blood all along. With it, he could change his class to the mythical profession Death God. In this world, Players could choose a profession upon reaching level 10. Professions could be obtained through exchanges or hunting monsters. However, if certain special conditions were met, a player could unlock a unique profession, vastly superior in attributes and skills. Angel's Blood was the only known way to unlock the Death God profession, and it could only be obtained by the first player to kill an angel. This was crucial information Tangi had discovered during his 12th reincarnation. Suddenly, the system prompted another message. Players' souls will now return to reality. The second round will begin in 1 month. With a whoosh, everyone abruptly woke up. Some gasped for air, others clutched their heads in confusion. It felt as if everything had been a dream, but the horrifying truth became evident. Many bodies around them had not woken up at all. Someone quickly realized that the game system still worked in the real world. To test it, a player picked up a stone and crushed it effortlessly with just a light squeeze. Their in-game strength had transferred over. The world quickly descended into chaos. News reports flooded in, confirming that half of those who had fallen asleep had died, not just in H country, but across the entire world. Tangi, however, remained calm. He knew this was only the beginning. As players grew stronger, their abilities would reach unimaginable levels. But not everyone would use their power wisely. Before the final round even began, he suspected that players themselves would bring about the world's destruction. Tangi knew that to keep others from challenging him, he had to show absolute strength. But before anything else, he wanted to take care of something personal. Back home, he saw his younger brother, Bayang, and felt a rare moment of happiness. However, he soon asked him to go somewhere together. Bayang was confused. He had never seen his brother this serious before. He hesitantly asked where they were going. Tangi's answer was clear: to get revenge on Fang Takwi. Fang Takwi was the notorious school bully, and his cruelty knew no limits. Not only did he torment Bayang regularly, but in Tangi's second reincarnation, he had beaten Bayang so badly that he went blind. At first, Bayang was worried, but after seeing the news about people gaining superhuman powers, he began to understand. Tangi reassured him, "I'm one of them. Don't worry." Meanwhile, Fang Takwai was out collecting protection money from students. But today's earnings were disappointing. One of his henchmen suggested Bayang might have saved some money, and they decided to target him next. Just as they were about to hunt him down, Tangi walked in. Fang Takwi grinned and called out, "Bayang, hurry up with the protection money. My BMW needs gas." Tangi only responded with a cold laugh. His mocking attitude made Fang Takwi crack his knuckles, ready to teach him a lesson. One of his henchmen stepped forward first, thinking there was no need for the boss to act. But before he could even react, Tangi moved like lightning, delivering a devastating punch that knocked him out instantly. The remaining henchmen tried to gang up on him, but he took them all down with swift, brutal strikes. Fang Takwi remained calm at first, believing his superior weight would give him an advantage in a fist fight. But then, Tangi's fist erupted with blue light. With a single punch, Fang Takwi was sent flying several meters. He tried to counterattack, but his punches never landed. Tangi had maxed out his agility, making him untouchable. In the end, Fang Takwi was left beaten, bruised, and begging for mercy. But for someone who had hurt his brother, mercy wasn't enough. Tangi wanted to leave him with an unforgettable lesson. With a sickening crack, he broke 5 of Fang Takwi's fingers, making him scream in agony. Then, grabbing his other hand, he prepared to continue. Terrified, the remaining henchmen fled. Only after delivering a final warning did Tangi let Fang Takwi go. Bayang, still in shock, stared at his brother in awe. He couldn't understand how he had become so powerful. To demonstrate, Tangi simply raised his palm and summoned a dagger out of thin air. Seeing this unreal ability, Bayang couldn't hide his jealousy. Later, Tangi withdrew all his savings from the bank. It was New Year's, and he wanted to treat Bayang to a feast. Excitedly, Bayang bought premium beef, something he never thought he'd ever get to eat. Meanwhile, Tangi used the rest of his money to buy lottery tickets. To Bayang's shock, every single ticket had the same number. Unaware of his brother's memories from past reincarnations, Bayang nervously watched the live lottery draw, thinking that spending all their savings like this was reckless. But the moment the winning numbers were announced, he froze in disbelief. Then, checking the tickets over 10 times, he finally exploded with excitement. "Brother, we hit the jackpot!" "Punch me. I need to know if this is real." After confirming their win, Byang was so thrilled that he almost jumped through the ceiling. This was something Tongyi had done in every reincarnation, securing a large amount of funds to prepare for player transactions in the future. Without delay, he took his winning tickets to the bank for redemption. When the teller realized he had won the jackpot, she lost her composure. Soon, the bank manager himself came forward, greeting Tongyi with deep respect. "Distinguished VIP customer, congratulations on your big win." He then personally instructed the staff to assist Tongyi in claiming his prize. Tongyi presented over 100 tickets, all with the same winning number. After careful verification, the teller's eyes nearly popped out. The total winnings amounted to 22.5 billion, leaving about 15 billion after tax. With the money secured, Tongyi immediately opened a stock account. He invested most of his funds into a stock he knew was about to surge, ensuring even greater profits. After completing his financial preparations, he took his brother to a new, luxurious home. Meanwhile, Diego stood in front of his neighbor's house, his face filled with irritation. With a casual punch, he smashed the outer wall. He had obtained a strength rune in the game, and allocated all his attribute points to raw power. To test his strength, he had already confirmed that he could kill 10 bulls with a single punch. Now, he was at Tongyi's old home, his frustration boiling over. Why hasn't he been answering my calls? His suppressed anger erupted. He pounded on the door, shouting Tongyi's name repeatedly. No response. The noise disturbed the landlord, who came out and announced that the household had moved out that morning. Diego was stunned. Then, his fists clenched tightly. "Bastard, don't think you can escape me just by moving." Tongyi's new home was in the city's most luxurious high-rise building. The monthly rent was sky-high, but so was the security. He needed a safe place. On the first of every month, players entered the Soul World. During this time, their real bodies were completely defenseless. Some players would hire assassins to eliminate rivals while they were in the game. So for Tongyi, security was worth any price. After settling in, he and Bayang visited their new neighbors, bringing gifts as a friendly introduction. They knocked on doors, delivering gifts one by one, all the way up to the 44th floor. But one door remained closed. Just then, the owner stepped out of the elevator. To their surprise, it was celebrity Shu Allen. Before they could say a word, her bodyguards immediately intervened, mistaking them for crazy fans and forcefully driving them away. Back home, Shu Allen was deep in thought. Her best friend had died in the last game, and she herself had barely survived thanks to her bodyguard's protection. But what truly unsettled her was Tongyi's expression. That cold, indifferent gaze. It was just like his. She clenched her fists. If I could be with him in the next game, maybe I could survive. Soon, the first of the month arrived. All players were forcibly summoned back to the game world. Some felt excitement, others fear, until he appeared. The moment Tongyi stepped into the arena, the crowd fell silent. At that moment, an angel slowly descended, but to everyone's surprise, it was not the same angel as before. The new angel calmly reassured them, urging them not to panic. Then, it began explaining the rules of the second round. This time, there was no combat. Players needed to elect a regional representative. This representative would gain the power to command others, and all players would be forced to obey. Voting would begin in 3 hours, and once the representative was chosen, players would be allowed to return home. All players were busy discussing who to vote for, while Tongyi quietly slipped into the woods. He decided to open the special reward from the first round, choosing the triple experience boost among the 3 options. His goal was to reach level 10 in this layer and complete his class change. Deeper in the forest, stronger goblins roamed, and with the experience boost, he reached level 9 after just half an hour of relentless slaughter. He continued adding all attribute points to agility. No matter how powerful an attack was, it was useless if it never hit the target. However, he had a lingering feeling that someone was following him. Without turning around, he called out, warning them not to force him into dragging them out. As soon as he finished speaking, a man and a woman emerged. The man introduced himself as Shang and explained that he hadn't intended to follow him deliberately. Tongyi recognized the name. Shang was the right-hand man of Pegasus, the third-ranked player from the first round. Pegasus was the son of a powerful enterprise, and Tongyi knew that if he wanted to pass the 20th level, he needed a team of 4. His first target for recruitment was a future priest connected to Pegasus. The woman beside Shang was Shu Allen. Tongyi quickly realized Shang had been her bodyguard before. Shu Allen now extended an offer to cooperate, but he refused without hesitation. Cooperation should be mutually beneficial, and right now, he had no need for anyone else's help. Without another word, he headed deeper into the forest. His arrogance irritated Shang, but he said nothing. As Tongyi continued his path of slaughter, he eventually reached werewolf territory. To his satisfaction, 5 werewolves appeared at once, just enough to push him to level 10. The werewolves leaped at him simultaneously, attempting to surround him, but his agility and attack speed gave him the upper hand. Before they could land a single hit, his blade slashed through the air, striking all 5. The system prompted his long-awaited notification. He had reached level 10 and met the conditions for a class change. At the same time, he received a hidden task. Completing the class change before the voting round would grant him a 50% discount in today's shop. Many players struggled with this, unsure how to obtain the necessary credentials for their desired profession. For a warrior, defeating 30 monsters in an hour was enough. Berserkers needed to hunt aggressively, while assassins had to land multiple backstabs on enemies. But Tongyi had no such struggles. He had chosen the Death God class ever since his 13th reincarnation. Without hesitation, he took out the angel's blood. The system immediately prompted him. Did he want to change to the Death God class? His finger moved to confirm, and in an instant, the holy golden light turned crimson. Death energy surged around him. The system notified him of his transformation. He had become a Death God, gaining the Death God rune. During the day, it increased attack power. At night, it boosted attack speed. Staying still in the darkness also made him harder to detect. He unlocked a new skill, Death God's Mark, which doubled the damage on marked targets. Finally, he received his profession weapon, the Death God's Scythe, with a chance to increase attack power upon striking enemies. Completing the hidden task, he was now stronger than ever. As the first player to change class, Tongyi received a random skill. He gained the skill Ultimate Tracking. By imagining the target's face, Tongyi could get their exact location. To test the skill out, he immediately imagined Diego's face, the guy that used to bully Tongyi in his previous reincarnations. System prompt match successful. Target is about 200 meters away. Meanwhile, Shang was fleeing with Shuan. Their pursuers were Diego and his 3 followers. Shang angrily cursed, "We have no grudge. Why suddenly attack us?" Diego laughed loudly. "We just want one thing. That girl who looks like a celebrity." Shang hesitated. If he had known their target, he would have unhesitatingly left Shuan. After all, dying for a woman wasn't worth it. Just then, Tongyi tracked them down. Everyone was scared to see him there. Everyone feared this mysterious, cold man. Shang grabbed this lifeline and described everything Diego had done. The pressure immediately fell on Diego. Diego nervously said, "Regardless of whether what he said is true, it's none of your business." Hearing this, Tongyi replied, "I know these two. How is it not my business?" In an instant, blood-red death energy erupted from his body. Tongyi raised the Death God's Scythe to his shoulder. Diego and his group were instantly scared into a cold sweat. Tongyi's intervention had a purpose. If he saved Pegasus's right-hand man, he could claim a favor. Seeing Tongyi intervene, Diego was terrified. He had witnessed this man slaughtering goblins. Now Tongyi gave him 2 choices: fight, or kneel and sincerely beg. Hearing this, Diego was instantly troubled. If not for his friends watching, he would have knelt already. Pride made him choose the first option, thinking he had maxed out strength. With luck, he might finish this guy with 1 punch. Seeing this, Tongyi put away the Death God's Scythe. Winning too easily would be no fun. The next second, Tanguy rushed at Diego like the wind. Diego was delighted, thinking, "Stupid guy, wait for your head to explode." He swung a fierce punch, but Tanguy easily dodged. Then Tanguy forcefully struck Diego's abdomen. With a whoosh, Diego flew back several meters like a ball. When he struggled to stand, he was met with Tanguy's iron fist again. Finally, a bystander couldn't bear to watch and prepared to shoot an arrow. Thanks to Shuan's timely warning, Tanguy performed repeated side jumps, casually dodging 4 consecutive arrows. Approaching the archer, Tanguy's death god scythe appeared. A swish brought a splash of blood, along with the archer's left hand. The remaining 2 still wanted to ambush. Tanguy swung the death god scythe, creating a blade of air. With a splatter, the 2 fell with severed hands and feet, unable to stop wailing. Diego seized the opportunity to hide, but Tanguy already knew where he was. Tanguy swung his scythe, and in the next second, a blade of air struck Diego, severing his arm, exploding in a spray of blood. Before the angel appeared, Diego and others had been bullying Tanguy. Now, in each reincarnation, Tanguy made them suffer unforgettable pain. The cruel methods terrified Shang, and Tanguy's strength was beyond his comprehension. Despite the fear, both Shang and Shu Allen sincerely expressed their gratitude for saving their lives. And Shang, trying to establish a connection, said, "Tell me your real name after the game ends, and I'll give you generous compensation." Tanguy, uninterested, gave no response and simply walked away, heading deeper into the forest alone. Meanwhile, back at the gathering, 5,000 players were fiercely competing for the position of regional representative. In the midst of the discussions, a blue-haired man stood up and confidently suggested, "I think we shouldn't waste any more time. Let's vote now and choose our representative." His voice carried an unusual weight, and those who heard him unconsciously stopped what they were doing. Seeing this reaction, the blue-haired man smirked. In the first round of the game, he had received a seemingly useless rune, the Persuasion rune. It enhanced his persuasiveness, but only worked on those at a lower level than himself. Against wild monsters that couldn't understand human language, it had been completely ineffective. At first, he thought he would be doomed in the first round, but he came up with a cunning strategy. He would wait for others to weaken a goblin and then use persuasion to convince them to show mercy. As soon as they left, he would deliver the final blow, securing easy kills. His plan had worked so far, and now, if he played his cards right, he would secure the representative position as well. To ensure a smooth election, the blue-haired man suggests that 5 candidates be nominated first, after which one would be selected by vote. Given his confident leadership, someone immediately recommended him as a candidate. Others suggested the powerful Black Scythe, who had achieved first place in the previous round. Within minutes, 5 candidates were chosen. Just as the blue-haired man prepared to activate his persuasion ability, a cold voice interrupted him. A tall, muscular man stepped forward, his expression filled with disdain. This was Foolish Egg, the second-ranked player in the area. In a chilling tone, he declared, "There's absolutely no need to nominate candidates. You should all vote for me. If you don't, I'll kill you." The blue-haired man hesitated but decided to use his persuasion ability. However, before he could even speak, a flash of steel cut through the air. A dagger pierced his throat, and in an instant, he collapsed into a pool of blood, his life ending before he could even react. Foolish Egg had chosen his ridiculous username to appear harmless, but in reality, he was a ruthless and calculating killer. Now that the role of the representative was up for grabs, he no longer had any reason to hide his true nature. The moment he showed his brutality, chaos erupted. He began slaughtering players left and right, cutting them down as if they were nothing more than wheat in a field. In this lawless world, where there were no police, no surveillance, no consequences, he could kill as many as he pleased. Those who dared to defy him met a swift and violent end. The remaining players, terrified, quickly realized they had no choice. Either they voted for him, or they would join the growing pile of corpses. Meanwhile, far from this massacre, Tanguy continued his hunt in the depths of the forest. Over the course of 2 hours, he exterminated countless werewolves, steadily increasing his level until he finally reached level 16. As the deadline for voting approached, all players were forcibly summoned back to the main area. The moment they regained awareness, they were met with a horrifying sight. The ground was littered with the lifeless bodies of players who had resisted. Standing among the corpses was Foolish Egg, his weapon still dripping with blood. In a cold, menacing tone, he addressed the crowd. "Whoever doesn't vote for me later," he said, his voice filled with malice, "this will be your fate." Atongi recognized him immediately. His real name was Xiao Jianji, a notorious gang leader in the real world. In previous reincarnations, Tongi had crossed paths with him more than once, and he knew exactly what kind of person he was. Xiao Jianji stepped through the crowd toward Tongi and said, "Young man, be my underling, and I'll spare your life." Tongi snorted in disdain. "If you kneel now, I'll pretend I didn't hear that." In the next instant, crimson death energy radiated from his body, and the death scythe stood before him. The aura it emitted made Xiao Jianji's pupils shrink. He stood frozen, trembling slightly. "Why aren't you answering?" Tongi asked coldly. Xiao Jianji gritted his teeth. As a gang leader, he had his pride. "What use is a fancy weapon? If you've got the guts, let's fight." Tongi wasn't looking to overshadow him, just suppress his arrogance. Letting him become the representative would make him more useful in the third round. Just then, the angel appeared, breaking the tension. "Time is up. Begin voting for the representative." A system prompt flashed before every player. Look at your voting target and cast your vote in your mind. Failure to vote will result in elimination. Due to Xiao Jianji's earlier threats, most players directed their gaze toward him. Suddenly, he noticed a woman looking elsewhere. His expression darkened. "You dare not look at me. I'll kill you." The countdown ended, and the results appeared. First place a Foolish Egg, second place a Black Scythe. Xiao Jianji was surprised. Only 400 votes separated him and Tongi. "You guys are really playing games, secretly voting for Black Scythe." Still, the result was favorable. The angel congratulated Xiao Jianji. "Congratulations on becoming the representative. You've gained the skill Command Authority. It can be used 10 times. 1 command per player." A Xiao Jianji read the skill description and was instantly stunned. The angel then announced the skill's effects to everyone. Command Authority could only be used on players who hadn't changed classes. Xiao Jianji's face twisted with fury. He had offended over 5,000 people for a skill that was practically useless. However, the game wasn't over yet. The angel continued. A hidden task was included in this round, completing a class change by reaching level 10. Next, the angel revealed the first players to complete this hidden task. First place in the entire area, Black Scythe. Second place, Pegasus. Third place, Foolish Egg. In this particular area, only Black Scythe had completed the task, meaning he was the only one who could ignore the area representative's commands. Tongi received his reward for completing the task, a low-level armor selection voucher. The first armor was too heavy. The third had no defense, so he chose the Hunter's Leather. As the first ranked player in the entire area, he also earned a special reward. Among the 3 options, he picked triple experience for the third round. With the rewards distributed, the game finally ended, and everyone's souls returned to reality. Diego woke from his dream with a jolt, drenched in cold sweat. Diego stared in disbelief. His severed arm had been completely restored. Could it be that as long as you didn't die, you could bring back an intact body? But recalling the excruciating pain of his limb being torn apart, he shuddered. He vowed never to provoke Black Scythe again. Meanwhile, back in reality, Tongi received his second round reward. Without hesitation, he activated his tracking skill. Tracking target in Shang. Distance in 9 meters. This confirmed Tongi's suspicion, and Shang was indeed the bodyguard who lived upstairs. Suddenly, Shang's distance began increasing rapidly. Tongi followed, trailing him all the way to Pegasus Enterprise. By the time he arrived, Shang was already meeting with Pegasus. Pegasus's real name was Ma Jinglu, the eldest son of a top domestic enterprise. Xuan, the most famous celebrity under their company, was his most valuable asset, and Shang was his most loyal subordinate. After a brief exchange, Shang asked, "How did you change class in the game?" Pegasus leaned back. I was just lucky. Killed a few monsters and a class change item dropped. That was a lie. In reality, Pegasus had received the Dark Knight rune in the first round. This rune would automatically change his class to Dark Knight upon reaching level 10. Even Shang, whom he considered family, wasn't aware of this secret. And Shang smiled. Luck is also a form of strength. Besides, you've entered the top 3 in the entire area rankings. Pegasus waved dismissively. Flattery. Did you come here for something important? And Shang's expression turned serious. In the game, we encountered some thugs who coveted Xuan Allen's beauty. Fortunately, Black Scythe came to our rescue. If not for him, we wouldn't have made it back. Pegasus took a sip of his drink. He had almost lost both his subordinate and his business. That meant he owed Black Scythe a big favor. If we meet him in the next round, send my regards, Pegasus said. Also, keep a close eye on him. See if we can offer any help. I'm not someone who doesn't repay debts. And Shang nodded. Understood. Downstairs, Tongyi retreated after confirming Shang's purpose. He had considered recruiting Pegasus as a teammate for the 20th round, but the Dark Knight class still needed evaluation. The Dark Knight was a forced class change, and its power, Dark Termination, required charging a form of dark magic. However, the method of obtaining dark magic was extremely twisted, and yet, it perfectly matched Pegasus's nature. Having a psychopath as a teammate was a terrifying thought. A few days later, a local convenience store owner sat anxiously behind the counter, staring at the latest news report. A mysterious lottery player had been winning consecutively for the past few days, raking in 60 billion in prize money. This led to a nationwide suspension of lottery ticket sales, sending shockwaves through the industry. With ticket sales halted, the convenience store's revenue plummeted, and rent payments became impossible. Wanting to ease her father's burden, his daughter, Minu, made a decision. She needed to find a part-time job. Seeing her father still depressed, Minu extended her palm. A gentle green light descended upon him, and in an instant, he felt a surge of energy. His back no longer ached, his legs were no longer sore. Minu smiled and explained that this was a skill called Blessing, which she obtained after changing her class to Shaman in the dream world. If you keep feeling down, I'll just cast this skill on you regularly, she teased, trying to lighten the mood. Just then, Tongyi walked into the convenience store. Store manager, hello. I'm the person who won the lottery consecutively. The suspension of ticket sales has affected your business, and I deeply apologize. The store manager was surprised but quickly waved his hand. It's fine. No need to worry about that. However, Tongyi pulled out an envelope from his bag and placed it on the counter. Here's 10 million. Please accept it. Before they could refuse, he turned and walked away. Both the manager and Minu were stunned. They immediately chased after him. Classmate Tongyi, is that you? Minu called out. Tongyi turned, feigning confusion. I'm sorry, who are you? I have a bit of face blindness. Of course, this was a lie. In the 20th reincarnation, Tongyi had saved Minu and only then realized they were classmates. From then on, he made sure to encounter her in each reincarnation and recruit her as a teammate. Minu stood on tiptoe and leaned in, her face close to his. I'm Minu. My face looks like this. Do you remember now? Realizing how bold she had been, she quickly pulled back, her cheeks flushing with embarrassment. They were almost graduating. Yet here she was introducing herself to a classmate as if they had just met. Tongyi's voice was calm as he reassured her. It's not too late to get to know each other now. It's not like we won't stay in touch after graduation. He smiled slightly. Can I have your contact information? With that simple lie, Tongyi successfully got Mina's contact details. Her face turned even redder, and in the fluster of the moment, she forgot to return the envelope he had given her. Long ago, Minu had witnessed Tongyi being bullied by Diego. She had secretly notified the teacher, ensuring Tongyi got home safely. Afterward, she had followed him discreetly, only to find him acting as if nothing had happened, continuing his daily life and even working a part-time job. Over time, she came to admire his quiet resilience. Since then, She had been interested in him but never found the courage to approach him. Now, she felt like fate had handed her an opportunity. Tomorrow, let's invite him to dinner, she thought. The next day, she nervously sent him an invitation. To her delight, he accepted. This was a good sign. It meant Tangi could naturally bring her into his team. When they arrived at the restaurant, an awkward silence filled the air. Minyu never imagined she would be having dinner alone with Tangi. She felt the need to say something, anything, to break the tension. "So, how much did you win from the lottery?" she finally asked. Tangi chuckled. "Probably enough that I don't have to worry about money for my next life." His expression darkened slightly. "But what I do have to worry about is whether I'll survive the next round of the game." Bringing up the game immediately shifted Mina's focus. A dozen questions ran through her mind, and without hesitation, she asked about his current level. Tangi didn't reveal too much about his strength. He simply mentioned that he had reached level 10, but hadn't undergone a class change. Minyu, on the other hand, felt a little proud. She was also level 10, but had already changed her class to Shaman. To demonstrate, she raised her palm, and a soft green glow emanated from it. This was her skill, Blessing, which increased all attributes by 50% and lasted for 3 hours. Tangi had expected the Shaman class to be useful, and this only confirmed it. He smiled and thanked Minyu, who quickly waved her hands, saying that if he ever needed a blessing, he should just ask. It was no trouble at all. She then brought up the 10 million he had given her father, insisting that she would repay him no matter what. Tangi was taken aback and told her that he wasn't worried about money. After a brief hesitation, Minyu took out a small crystal and handed it to him, explaining that she had found it while hunting. Tangi inspected the item. It was a low-level purple magic crystal containing faint magical power. Though currently of little use, it would become highly valuable once players reached level 20 and unlocked the fusion function, which allowed magic crystals to be embedded into equipment. Among the 7 types of crystals, purple was the rarest, capable of enhancing all attributes at once. Tangi felt fortunate to receive such a valuable item so easily. As their conversation continued, the duration of Mina's blessing was about to expire. Seizing the moment, Tangi pulled out a small bag filled with insects, 100 in total, and mercilessly crushed them under his foot. The system rewarded him with Angel's blood, and the slaughter rune after he had defeated the angel. The rune allowed players to gain attribute boosts with every enemy they killed. After exterminating the insects, Tangi checked his stats. His luck had now increased to 45. It was the perfect time to test his luck. He retrieved a special item from his inventory, a random gold bag, which granted between 900 gold coins. Higher luck increased the chances of obtaining more. As the bag's glow flickered, the system prompt appeared, announcing that he had obtained 99,999 coins. Tangi smirked. With this much gold, he could finally purchase what he had been looking for. After returning home, he eagerly opened the coin shop and refreshed the listings multiple times until he found it the skull bone necklace. This item increased intelligence by 3 points per round and boosted attack speed by 1 for every enemy defeated, up to a maximum of 26%. Using a 5% discount coupon, he spent 300 gold to acquire it. A month passed in the blink of an eye, and soon it was time for the players to enter the dream game once again. The third round took place in a ruined town. At its center stood a massive crystal, glowing with a dazzling light. Despite its beauty, an air of unease filled the area. The tension only grew when Xiao Jiangji appeared. Whispers spread among the players, with many doubting whether he truly deserved to be the representative. Just as their hostility reached its peak, someone unexpected stepped forward. It was Diego. He greeted Xiao Jiangji and declared that he was there to join him. Xiao Jiangji was taken aback and eyed Diego carefully, questioning whether he was part of his gang. Diego's eyes lit up with excitement as he responded enthusiastically, calling Xiao Jiangji his role model. He declared that joining Xiao Jiangji's gang had always been his dream. Without hesitation, he knelt on the ground, pleading sincerely, saying he would consider Xiao Jiangji his big brother for life. His request took Xiao Jiangji by surprise. He had encountered plenty of wild individuals before, but never someone this devoted. Amused and pleased, he accepted Diego's request and told him to wipe away his tears, cautioning him not to tarnish their gang's reputation. The other players were confused by Diego's behavior, but before they could dwell on it, the angel finally appeared, and the third round's task was revealed. The players were assigned a single mission: protect the sacred object. They had 3 hours to do so. Some of the more observant players quickly noticed that there were 900 participants, but only 200 qualifying spots, meaning 3/4 of them would be eliminated by the end of this round. The angel then explained the rules of the game. Every 30 minutes, monsters would swarm in from the town gates, their ultimate goal being to destroy the sacred object in the center of town. The players' objective was to work together to defend it. If the sacred object was destroyed, they would all suffer a severe penalty once the task ended. Their individual rankings would be determined based on the number of monsters they killed. Anyone ranked below 200 would be eliminated. Additionally, although there would be an overwhelming number of monsters, all player attributes would be reduced by 2/3, and both experience and coin drops would be significantly lowered. Xiao Jiangji quickly grasped the gameplay mechanics. The goal was simple: kill as many monsters as possible. With his command authority ability, he was confident he would secure his survival. However, the angel's next announcement changed everything. It was revealed that if the representative died, their killer would inherit the representative position and gain 10 more uses of command authority. In an instant, the gazes of 4,000 players locked onto Xiao Jiangji. Before anyone could act, Tongyi calmly approached him and stated that he was in grave danger. He offered to protect Xiao Jiangji, but under one condition: absolute obedience. The surrounding players were stunned by this unexpected offer. It was a tempting deal. If Xiao Jiangji refused, he would be hunted by thousands of players. However, his pride as a gang leader prevented him from agreeing. Just as he had done in previous rounds, he chose to reject the offer. Having anticipated this response, Tongyi didn't insist. Instead, he distanced himself and made it clear that from this moment forward, Xiao Jiangji's life and death were no longer his concern. The crowd, sensing an opportunity, let out sighs of relief and began mocking Xiao Jiangji, questioning what use his dignity would be if he ended up dead. Before anyone could make a move against him, a system prompt appeared, warning the players that the first wave of monsters was approaching. Seizing the moment, Xiao Jiangji discreetly tried to follow Tongyi. He had assumed Tongyi would join the main group for safety, but to his surprise, Tongyi moved alone toward the monster spawn point. Without hesitation, he spun his death scythe and charged in. In a single motion, he cleaved through the frontmost goblins. The battlefield was instantly transformed into a scene of carnage, as Tongyi moved like a tiger among sheep, leaving only severed limbs in his wake. Xiao Jiangji was left in shock as he witnessed Tongyi's terrifying strength. He quickly realized he couldn't afford to waste time. He had to start killing monsters and leveling up. Just as he stepped onto the battlefield, eager to showcase his abilities, a blade suddenly slashed past his cheek. His instincts screamed at him. This wasn't the work of goblins. Someone was ambushing him. Before he could react further, a spear-wielding player lunged at him, piercing his abdomen. Clenching his teeth in pain, Xiao Jiangji yanked the spear out with force, causing his attacker's body to stumble forward, straight onto his waiting blade. The gruesome sight instantly deterred the surrounding players, who had been watching him like hungry wolves. Among the crowd, a particular figure caught his attention: Black Flame Dragon, the third-ranked player in the area. Without hesitation, Xiao Jiangji activated his command authority and issued an order. Black Flame Dragon was now responsible for protecting him. Meanwhile, Tongyi's kill count had already surpassed 500. After eliminating the remaining monsters, the first wave finally ended. He scanned the town and spotted Xiao Jiangji, now under the protection of Diego and Black Flame Dragon. Confident that he could hold out until the end of the round, Xiao Jiangji breathed a sigh of relief. As the second wave began, Tongyi silently returned to the monster spawn point. With his triple experience bonus still active, He continued his relentless slaughter. By the time he was done, his level had finally risen into the 20s. A system notification appeared. Fusion function unlocked. Additionally, his Death Mark skills effect had increased by 20%, and he had gained a new ability, Death's Knight, projects dark energy within a 500-meter radius, creating an artificial Knight of Death. While within range, the Death Knight can enhance the Death God's abilities. Before he could fully process his newfound power, another wave of goblins charged toward him, a perfect opportunity to test his new skill. As Death's Knight activated, a suffocating darkness spread across the battlefield, momentarily blinding all creatures caught within its range. Then came the Death God's merciless harvest. Every enemy within reach was ruthlessly cut down. After 3 waves of relentless slaughter, Tongi's coin balance had reached 20,000. Without hesitation, he purchased a reconnaissance skill, allowing him to scout targets within a 300-meter radius. Meanwhile, Xiao Jiangji had exhausted all his command authority. If he could survive for just 1 more hour, he would make it back to reality alive. However, as the system announced the arrival of the 4th wave, the difficulty of the game drastically increased. This time, the number of monsters was 4 times greater than the remaining players. Even worse, the enemies had evolved. They were no longer goblins, but far more powerful werewolves. Amidst the chaos, players who had been plotting against Xiao Jiangji finally made their move. If they could eliminate him and seize his command authority, their survival would be guaranteed. Seeing the situation spiral out of control, Xiao Jiangji made a desperate choice. He abandoned his previous pride and sought out Tongyi. Catching up to him, Xiao Jiangji swallowed his ego and pleaded for protection, offering to become his underling. But Tongyi had never cared for loyalty. He was only interested in power. Without hesitation, he refused. Regret instantly flooded Xiao Jiangji's mind. Had he accepted the deal from the beginning, he wouldn't be in this predicament. The surrounding players sneered, mocking him. Where was all that arrogance from the last round? This is karma. But just when it seemed like all hope was lost, Diego stepped forward from the crowd. Seeing him, Xiao Jiangji latched onto a final thread of hope, promising Diego the position of second in command if he protected him. However, instead of responding, Diego suddenly clenched his fist and punched himself square in the face. Before Xiao Jiangji could even react, something was clearly wrong. Diego, who had maxed out his strength stat, continued punching himself until a cold electronic voice echoed. Area Representative Xiao Jiangji has died. The killer Diego will inherit the representative authority. Clenching his fists in excitement, Diego felt an overwhelming sense of power. Now, with command authority, he could make Shuan do whatever he wanted. Wasting no time, he ran straight to Tongyi. I've become the new representative. I'm willing to be your subordinate. Please protect me. His arrogant tone immediately displeased Tongyi. Unamused, Tongyi ordered Diego to kneel and repeat himself. Seeing the watchful eyes of the surrounding players, Diego hesitated, struggling between pride and survival. But in the end, he chose to abandon his dignity. Dropping to his knees, he begged, "Please let me be your underling. I beg you." With that, Tongyi made his stance clear. "I will protect this guy. Do you still want to be my enemies?" His cold gaze swept over the crowd. No one dared to challenge him. Reluctantly, they backed off, and the 4th wave neared its end. But letting the game end like this felt like a waste. Tongyi had a different plan. He ordered Diego to use command authority to destroy the sacred object in the town's center. Diego hesitated. The angel had warned them. Destroying the sacred object would bring severe punishment. He wanted to save one last use of command authority for Shuan. But Tongyi's cold eyes left no room for negotiation. Instead, Tongyi named 10 people, Diego's own friends, and ordered him to use command authority on them instead. Heart pounding, Diego obeyed. His 10 friends were summoned to the town center, and under his command, began attacking the sacred object. By the time the other players realized what was happening and rushed to stop them, it was too late. A sharp crack rang through the air, followed by a system notification. The sacred object has been damaged. The divine punishment agent will appear in 30 minutes. Panic spread among the players. But that man, the one who had orchestrated it all, remained calm. He knew the truth. This was a hidden task for the third game. As another system notification appeared, players braced themselves for punishment. But to their shock, the reward for survival was 3,000 gold coins. A massive sum. The initial panic turned into determination. 30 minutes of survival meant greater rewards than protecting the sacred object. This was exactly why Tangi had Diego destroy it. However, another system message followed. The sacred object was damaged by players. Those responsible will receive permanent attribute reductions. The punishment was brutal. All attributes permanently decreased by 50%. The affected players were furious. They hadn't acted of their own will. They had been forced by Diego's command. Their anger burned as they turned on Diego, only for the system to deliver one final message. Since the area representative failed to protect the sacred object, he will be punished with a 50% reduction in all attributes. Realizing what had happened, Diego furiously kicked a nearby wall, shattering it with his enhanced strength. He had obeyed to save his own life, but now he was paying the price. Meanwhile, Tangi wasted no time preparing for the arrival of the divine punishment agent. He purchased numerous items from the shop, and then used the fusion function to combine the purple magic crystal with his skeleton bone necklace. After the successful fusion, the skeleton bone necklace gained one additional attribute point. Not stopping there, Tangi also fused the goblin's crystal into his equipment. Though these were low-level crystals, they were still better than nothing. As dark clouds gathered overhead, the moment everyone feared finally arrived. The divine punishment was about to begin. In the previous cycle, only 500 out of 700 players had survived because the divine punishment monster required at least 5 level 40 players to defeat. But Tangi, despite being only level 20, had something no one else did. The Angel Slayer title. With this, he could deal double damage to divine beings. He was confident that he could take down the divine punishment agent and claim the best reward. A blinding golden light split the sky as a sacred angel slowly descended, bathed in a warm, rosy glow. Seeing this, the crowd's tension eased. Wasn't this too easy? If survival only meant avoiding the angel, there was nothing to fear. But in the next second, the angel struck the ground with his scepter. A deep hum resonated through the air as a massive purple barrier expanded outward, trapping a portion of the players inside. The divine punishment agent has released a restriction field. Except for the caster, no player can leave this area. Within this field, all player attributes are reduced by 50%. Tangi glanced around. About 300 players were caught inside. Without hesitation, he turned away. They were beyond saving. The next moment, the divine punishment agent spread his wings and summoned countless swords. Like a storm of blades, the swords shot outward in all directions. In a single breath, 300 players perished. This was the moment Tangi had been waiting for. While everyone was distracted by the massacre, he silently circled behind the agent, preparing for a sneak attack. As the barrier dissipated, his chance arrived. Moving with the speed of the wind, he rushed toward the divine punishment agent. There was no risk of being detected. The agent had no ears. Just as his attack was about to land, Tangi activated Death Mark, amplifying his damage by 120%. At that moment, the agent sensed the faintest trace of killing intent. But it was already too late. Tangi's death scythe plunged straight into the angel's eye. With just one strike, the divine punishment agent lost 40% of his health. Tangi swiftly retreated, waiting for another opening. The angel, in response, conjured another barrier in an attempt to trap him. But before the barrier could close, Tangi escaped its range. If the barrier failed to trap anyone, it would dissipate immediately. Seizing this opportunity, he struck again. Moving at lightning speed, he drove his death scythe into the agent's remaining eye. A sharp, inhuman hiss filled the air. But even as the divine punishment agent staggered, he cast his barrier once more. This time, Tangi was trapped inside. Despite this, Tangi remained calm. The angel was now completely blind. Desperate, the divine punishment agent prepared his deadliest move, an omnidirectional light sword barrage. But, without sight or hearing, he had no idea that Tangi was already behind him. A sharp slash cut through the air. Tangi's death scythe severed the agent's wing. The angel staggered, halting his spellcasting. In a blind rage, he swung his scepter wildly. But Tangi had already dodged. Tangi leaped to the agent's right side, his death scythe slashing down in a decisive strike. The agent's remaining wing was severed, leaving him grounded and vulnerable. A quick glance confirmed that the agent's health had dropped to just 10%. But instead of rushing in for the final blow, Tangi swiftly pulled back. In the next instant, a brilliant holy light burst from the agent's body. System notification. The Divine Punishment Agent is activating its passive skill Final Radiance. The agent has entered an invincible state for 60 seconds. As the agent unleashed countless black holes, firing them in all directions, Tangi remained calm. He had predicted this outcome and stood safely outside the attack range, waiting. That was precisely why he had blinded the agent earlier, to ensure its ultimate move would be wasted. The seconds dragged on as the agent's attacks grew more frantic, but none found their mark. Then, as soon as the invincibility ended, Tangi struck. The agent sensed the killing intent, but had no time to react. In one swift motion, Tangi's scythe sliced clean through its neck. System notification: congratulations. You have defeated the Divine Punishment Agent. 10 level increased by 3. Pan 8,000 gold coins received, plus an additional 4,000 unzen for outstanding performance. Attend first player to defeat the Divine Punishment Agent, title earned. Defeater of Divine Punishment. And rewards obtained: Condensed Ether and Radiance Rune. Tangi examined his rewards. Condensed Ether could enhance equipment levels, exactly what he had aimed for. The Radiance Rune granted +1 intelligence and a 1% skill effect boost per level gained. Now at level 30, Tangi had gained 30 intelligence points in an instant. Meanwhile, the system notified all players of the task's completion, granting them 3,000 gold coins. A wave of cheers erupted around him as players gathered, celebrating his victory. However, among them, a few watched with jealousy, their expressions dark with envy. Just then, the angel reappeared, gazing at Tangi with admiration. Defeating the Divine Punishment Agent alone, your strength is truly remarkable, she said before asking. Tell me, Black Scythe, why did you decide to eliminate the agent? Tangi sighed. Seeing him slaughter humans, I couldn't stand it, he replied. The crowd fell silent, taken aback. They had assumed he did it for power, but his answer revealed something else entirely. Their perception of him shifted. He wasn't just strong, he had principles. But the angel remained indifferent. To her, it was strange how moments ago the players had been fighting each other, yet now they stood together as if nothing had happened. Then, before anyone could celebrate further, she delivered unexpected news. Now, let's review the contribution rankings. Only the top 1-200 players will survive. A hush fell over the crowd as the rankings appeared. Region-wide rankings. First, Black Scythe 3,600 monsters defeated. Stupid Idiot 3rd. Pegasus area rankings. First, Black Scythe 3rd. Shanga 3rd. Shu Allen, seeing Tangi's level at 30, many suspected he had received an experience bonus. Indeed, without achieving first place, they might never have known such benefits existed. Shortly after, Tangi's rewards were granted. The area reward. Tangi examined the ultimate ring selection and chose the resistance ring, which granted 4 points of luck and resistance to abnormal states. Though his stats were high, he knew that abnormal conditions could still pose a threat, so he had to prepare in advance. After that, the system granted him the region-wide first place reward, offering 3 choices: a 50% experience bonus for round 4, 4,000 gold coins, or intelligence about the next round. Normally, he would have picked the experience bonus, but he already knew that killing monsters wouldn't be the ultimate goal in round 4. Without hesitation, he chose the 4,000 gold coins instead. At this point, the angel smiled and spoke. Everyone knows their rankings now. The minimum passing line is 1-200. The players who hadn't reached the cutoff immediately panicked, shouting in disbelief. The system must be wrong. I killed so many monsters. How could I rank so low? But the angel ignored their protests. You trash who didn't make the cut. Let me eliminate you. As she finished speaking, thousands of players' bodies dissolved into particles of light, vanishing into the air. The system then announced the conclusion of round 3 and the start date of round 4, April 1st. With a sudden jolt, Shu Alan's consciousness returned to her real body. She sat up abruptly, relieved and overjoyed to have survived this time. More than that, she had successfully changed her class to Summoner during the third round. Thanks to the assistance of her summons, she managed to rank third in the area. As she looked over the rewards granted by the system, a thought crossed her mind. If I give this to Black Scythe, would he like it? Meanwhile, back in reality, Diego's phone rang the moment he returned. As soon as he answered, an angry voice berated him. It's all your fault, you bastard. How could you use your representative position to command your own friends? Diego, feeling helpless, replied, I had no choice in that situation. If I hadn't done it, I might have died at Blackie's hands. The voice on the other end sneered. Then you should have just died. Rather than drag your friends down with you, you might as well be dead. Diego clenched his teeth, frustrated. My attributes were also reduced by 50%. I'm a victim too. But the person on the other end wasn't interested in hearing his excuses. If you hadn't coveted the representative position, none of this would have happened. And don't act tough in real life either, or I'll tear that smug face of yours. Before Diego could explode in anger, the call ended. He gritted his teeth and muttered, Bastard dare to threaten me. Next time I'll kill you. Elsewhere, Shang-Chi arrived at Pegasus's company to report intelligence. Pegasus was pleased to hear that both he and Shu Alan had survived. Afterward, he inquired about their current levels. Shang-Chi replied, Shu Alan and I are both level 11, but she has changed to a summoner. Hearing this, Pegasus's interest was piqued. That sounds like a rare profession. Shang-Chi nodded and added, Her summoned spirit can cast magic shields. Shang-Chi nodded and said, That's what helped us safely get through round 3. Pegasus smiled and replied, You've done well. Please continue maintaining a close relationship with Shu Alan. If you like her, you could try dating her. Shang-Chi was stunned by the suggestion. Sensing his surprise, Pegasus explained, Dating her would help you understand her better. I'm not saying you have to be together, but... Noticing Shang-Chi's panic, he didn't press the matter and changed the subject instead. So, what brings you here today? Shang-Chi bowed deeply and said apologetically, You previously asked me to assist Black Scythe when possible. I failed to do so, and I couldn't deliver your message to him either. He then recounted everything that had happened in round 3. Pegasus listened carefully and mused. The divine punishment agent sounds incredibly powerful, and yet, Black Scythe defeated him alone. Shang-Chi nodded. Not only that, he seemed to know the strategy beforehand. He overwhelmed the agent completely, as if he didn't need help at all. Pegasus fell silent, lost in thought. He had always considered himself strong, especially with the Dark Knight rune, but Black Scythe's power was beyond his expectations. If given the chance, he wanted to meet him personally. Though Shang-Chi had failed his mission, Pegasus didn't blame him. Shifting the conversation, Pegasus asked, Did you find out who was targeting Shu Alan? Shang-Chi replied, I have some clues. The leader of the thugs was named Diego. If he uses the same name in reality, there are about 20 suspects nationwide. Narrowing it down to this province, there are 5 suspects, but pinpointing their exact locations will take another month of investigation. Pegasus estimated that they'd only have solid results after round 4 ended. Concerned about the delay, he instructed Shang-Chi to save up gold coins and purchase the ultimate tracking skill from the game shop. Shang-Chi agreed and suddenly recalled something. A month ago, someone bought a large number of shares in our company. They now hold 31%. Pegasus was shocked. The company was valued at around 900 billion, meaning that a 31% stake equaled an investment of 280 billion. Who could have done this? A financial group, or was it one of his so-called friends playing a game with him? Meanwhile, Tongi was waiting for a call from Pegasus. Having invested 280 billion, he had officially become the company's major shareholder. Suddenly, his younger brother Bayang rushed in excitedly. Brother, what level are you? A classmate keeps bragging about his brother, saying he's level 11 and already changed class. He thinks he's so awesome. Tongi sighed and said, Don't worry, my level is higher than his. However, he didn't reveal his true strength, simply stating that he was level 12. Bayang's eyes sparkled with admiration. "Brother, you're amazing! Now I can brag at school too!" Tongyi smirked at how easily his little brother was fooled. Just then, his phone rang. Answering it, he heard a polite voice say, "Who are you, Mr. Tongyi?" He replied, "Wes." "Who is this?" The caller introduced himself. "I'm Majin Lu, the chairman of Pegasus Consulting. You invested in our company last month, making you the largest shareholder. I'd like to invite you to dinner." Majin Lu suggested meeting on Friday, but Tongyi checked his schedule and realized he needed to obtain a rune that day. Instead, he rescheduled for Saturday. After hanging up, he smiled slightly. Before meeting Majin Lu, he had to secure that rune first. Runes were the most direct way to enhance a player's strength. They could be obtained by hunting special monsters, completing unique quests, or as rare rewards. However, what most players didn't know was that runes could also be acquired in real life. After setting the meeting, Tongyi headed to a secluded warehouse, hiding in a concealed corner as he waited for someone. That person was Jiang Shishan, a man who had once kidnapped his brother and used him as leverage to extract secrets that other players didn't know. Initially, Tongyi had planned to make up some false information to mislead him. But before he could, Jiang Shishan's pupils contracted and he smirked. "So, you're Ari," he said. Tongyi was stunned. How did he know? Jiang Shishan laughed and said, "I have the mind rune. I know exactly what you're thinking." Since that day, Tongyi had been determined to take revenge and claim the mind rune for himself. Meanwhile, Jiang Shishan strolled down the street, his gaze shifting as a beautiful woman passed by. His excitement grew as he saw her enter a deserted alley. Without hesitation, he appeared in front of her in a flash, his body bursting with dazzling light like a flash grenade. Temporarily blinded, the woman couldn't react as Jiang Sishan took advantage of the moment to commit unspeakable acts. In the first round of the game, he had acquired the flash rune, which allowed his body to emit intense light, blinding targets nearby. After satisfying himself, he whistled happily and headed to a nearby beverage shop. At the counter, he ordered an iced Americano. When it was time to pay, his attention shifted to the female cashier. Captivated by her beauty, he smirked and asked for her contact information. The cashier hesitated, her face troubled. Seeing her reluctance, Jiang Shishan's expression darkened. "Why do you look so disgusted? Am I that ugly?" His sudden outburst startled the cashier, making her tremble. Losing his temper, he slammed his fist onto the counter. "No, I'm in a bad mood. Give me my money back! You think you're pretty, so you look down on people. I'll make you pay." That night, as the cashier walked home from work, Jiang Sishan followed her from behind. Without warning, he struck her over the head with a club, knocking her unconscious. Then, he tied her up and dragged her to a warehouse. As she slowly regained consciousness, Jiang Shishan noticed her trying to speak. He ripped the tape from her mouth and sneered. "Don't even think about screaming." The terrified woman immediately nodded, kneeling and apologizing. "You shouldn't judge people by their looks," he said coldly. Yes, I was wrong. It won't happen again," she pleaded. But Jiang Shishan turned away, sneering. "Your apology lacks sincerity. Don't think I don't know. You're just pretending, so I'll let you go." His expression darkened as he pushed the cashier down, a twisted grin spreading across his face. Reaching out, he whispered, "I don't accept your apology. You'll have to compensate me." Just as he was about to act, the warehouse door burst open with a loud crash. Jiang Sishan spun around, enraged. "Who dares ruin my fun?" A figure stepped inside, clad in a white mask and gripping a death scythe. Tongyi advanced slowly, his presence chilling the air. Jiang Sishan scoffed, breaking into laughter. "This isn't a place for kids to play with toys. Get lost before I..." Before he could finish, a sharp slicing sound echoed through the warehouse as the death scythe cut through the air. The sheer force sent a shiver down Jiang Sishan's spine. His arrogance faltered. "Are you a player too?" Tongyi didn't bother answering. Instead, he turned to the cashier. "Leave. Now." She stared at him like he was her savior. But just as she took a step, Jiang Shishan roared. "Who said you could go?" In the next instant, Tongyi moved like a shadow, closing the distance in a blink. The scythe's handle struck with brutal force between Jiang Xishan's legs. A gut-wrenching scream tore from his throat as he collapsed, clutching his groin in agony. Tongyi glanced at the cashier. Go. Snapping back to reality, she scrambled toward the exit, shouting her gratitude as she disappeared into the night. Now only the two of them remained. Tongyi's gaze locked onto Jiang Xishan, his voice calm yet chilling. No, the game officially begins. Jiang Xishan seethed with rage. Gritting his teeth, he grabbed a dagger and lunged forward. Tongyi chuckled. Good. It wouldn't be fun if you gave up too soon. Jiang Xishan slashed wildly at Tongyi's vital points, but his attacks hit nothing but air. Tongyi was too fast. Then, in one fluid motion, the death scythe flashed, severing one of Jiang Xishan's arms. A blood-curdling howl filled the warehouse. This is just the beginning, Tongyi murmured, his figure blurred. By the time Jiang Xishan registered what was happening, a fresh wound had already appeared across his chest. Jiang Xishan gritted his teeth. If this continued, he would die. His only chance was to blind his opponent. Summoning his last bit of strength, he activated the flash rune. A dazzling white light exploded from his body, illuminating the entire warehouse. But then, darkness. The light vanished as if swallowed by an abyss. Jiang Xishan froze in horror. What's happening? Why isn't my skill working? Tongyi smirked. Because I activated Death Knight domain. The warehouse was now engulfed in pure darkness. Within this domain, no light could exist. A crisp slicing sound echoed as the scythe carved through Jiang Xishan's body once more. Terror gripped him. His voice trembled. You demon, why are you doing this to me? Tongyi's voice was devoid of emotion. Because you're scum. If left alive, you'd only continue harming society. With that, he stabbed the death scythe into Jiang Xishan's body again and again, until there was nothing left but silence. Jiang Xishan howled in an agony, his body trembling from the excruciating pain. He no longer wanted to resist. He only wished for death to claim him quickly. Desperate, he tried to bite his tongue to end his suffering, but Tongyi swiftly blocked his throat, preventing him from committing suicide. Want to die? Tongyi's voice was chilling. Not without my permission. He carved several more wounds into Jiang Xishan's body, making him squirm in despair. Blood pooled beneath him as he gasped, his strength waning. Finally, he couldn't bear it any longer. Please, just kill me, he begged. Tongyi crouched beside him, his tone slow and deliberate. Don't you want to know why I'm doing this to you, even though we've never met? He smirked. Actually, we have. Jiang Xishan's swollen eyes flickered with confusion. He struggled to recall, but no memory surfaced. You kidnapped my brother and threatened me to reveal rare intelligence. Tongyi continued. Jiang Xishan's face twisted in disbelief. I never did that. Not yet, Tongyi corrected. But for me, it's already happened. Without me stopping you, you would have found the mind rune hidden in this warehouse. A rune that lets you hear people's inner voices. With that power, your criminal path would have been smooth as silk. Countless women would have suffered because of you. His gaze darkened. So, I not only took the mind rune before you could, I also decided to eliminate a future threat. Jiang Xishan didn't know whether to believe him or not. It didn't matter anymore. He just wanted the pain to stop. But before he could plead again, Tongyi shoved the death scythe's blade into his mouth, silencing him completely. Jiang Xishan's thoughts screamed in desperation. You already got what you wanted. Just kill me. Tongyi smirked, hearing his inner voice. You're wondering why I won't finish you off, right? I was conducting an experiment. He tapped the scythe against the ground. The mind rune only works when quietly observing a target. It allows me to vaguely hear their thoughts. As you can see, the test was very successful. Jiang Xishan's thoughts raced. You proved your point. Now just end it! But Tongyi's eyes remained as cold as ever. I won't let you die easily. The women you've harmed deserve justice. Fury burned in Jiang Xishan's gaze. He glared at Tongyi with pure hatred, but he was powerless to do anything. With a sigh, Tongyi finally stood up. He activated a newly purchased skill. Erase traces. Green flames erupted, wrapping around Jiang Xishan's battered body. Within seconds, his form was reduced to ashes, scattered by the wind. Blood, footprints, fingerprints. Every trace of the scene vanished. Mission accomplished, Tangi muttered. Now to meet Majin tomorrow. The day after acquiring the Mind Rune, Tangi prepared for his dinner appointment with the chairman of Tiama Group. He dressed in a crisp suit, adjusting his collar in front of the mirror. His polished appearance made Bayang mistake his plans. "Brother, are you going on a date?" she teased, grinning mischievously. Tangi chuckled. "No, I'm just meeting a business partner to discuss a deal." Her smile faded into concern. "You're starting another business. Last time you invested all your assets in stocks, and now you're doing business again. If you fail, won't you get in trouble?" Tangi exuded confidence. "Trust me, I'll tell you everything after the meeting." Seeing his assurance, Bayang sighed. "Fend, but be careful. The city is dangerous right now. Ever since players started using superpowers recklessly, even criminals in prison have been escaping. So, when you're not around, I won't wander off." "Good," Tangi said with a nod. "That's the right mindset." With that, he straightened his tie and left for his appointment. Bayang nodded, her expression serious. "Yeah, I've seen it all on the news. Every month, the number of players decreases, but the ones who survive get stronger. At this rate, social order will collapse completely. Before that happens, gaining overwhelming power and boosting Blackie's reputation will be crucial." Their meeting place was a 5-star hotel owned by Majin Luo. Before meeting him, Tangi knew he had to put on an innocent and harmless facade to gain his trust faster. Upon arriving at the hotel reception, he approached the front desk nervously and asked, "I have an appointment today, and the other party told me to contact the front desk." The receptionist immediately recognized his purpose. "Are you here to meet the chairman of Tiama Group?" "Wes," Tangi answered with a shy smile. "Please wait in the lounge," the receptionist said, leading him to a waiting area. "The chairman will be here soon." Tangi scratched his head, lowering his gaze slightly. Thank you." Even though no one was watching, he continued his act, tilting his head up at a 45-degree angle, gazing at the chandelier with half-open lips. His expression made him look naive and slightly odd, a trick to make anyone think he was just an inexperienced young man. Just then, a man approached him. "Excuse me, are you Mr. Tangi?" Tangi turned and nodded. "Wes, I am." Their eyes met, and for a brief moment, both seemed startled, though for Tangi, it was just an act. The man who had approached was none other than Enshangya. Enshangya frowned slightly. "Hey, have we met before?" Tangi smiled and replied, "I think so. When I was moving and giving out rice cakes, I saw you with Shu Allen, right?" Hearing this, Enshangya immediately bowed in apology. "You're right. I apologize for how I treated you last time." But deep down, he was full of doubts. How could this young man, who looks barely experienced, be a major shareholder with a 280 billion investment? Tangi kept up his act, scratching his cheek shyly. "It's okay to know. Similarly, I didn't know the person living upstairs was the chairman of Tiama Group." And Shangya quickly waved his hands. "Oh, no. You misunderstand. My name is Enshangya, and I only work for the chairman. He'll be here soon, so I came to greet you first." A few moments later, Enshangya led Tangi into a private room before stepping out to make a secret phone call. "Boss," he reported quietly. "This guy doesn't look like someone who could invest that much money. There might be someone powerful controlling him from behind. Please be cautious." A few minutes later, Majin Luo finally entered the private room. With a polite smile, he extended his hand. "Hello, sir. I'm Majin Luo, chairman of Tiama Group." Tangi shook his hand, introducing himself as well. Majin Luo then called a waiter to serve the food. "Let's discuss business while we eat. I hope these dishes suit your taste." As they dined, Majin Luo carefully observed Tangi. The more he watched, the more he felt that this young man didn't seem like someone capable of making a 280 billion investment. Who was backing him? Majin Luo wondered. A powerful brother in the family, an influential uncle. Whoever it was, I need to find out. With this thought in mind, he put down his chopsticks and spoke. "Meeting you is quite surprising. I didn't expect our major shareholder to be so young. May I ask your age?" Tangi remained calm, unfazed by the question. I'm 20 this year. Majin Luo wasn't too shocked. Instead, he asked, are you from a wealthy family? Tongyi waved his hand dismissively. Not at all. Not long ago, I was just a poor student. His words left Majin Luo deeply puzzled. Not long ago, Tongyi casually explained. Recently, the news reported about someone who got rich overnight by continuously winning the lottery. That person was me. Both Majin Luo and Enshangya were stunned by this revelation. However, Majin Luo quickly followed up with a crucial question. But the news said you won only 60 billion. How did you manage to invest 280 billion into our company? Tongyi smiled slightly. I just bought one stock and then I had that much. Majin Luo was momentarily speechless. Your luck and courage are truly remarkable, spending 60 billion on stocks. Even I wouldn't dare to do that. However, Tongyi shook his head. It wasn't luck. He leaned forward slightly. This is the first time I'm telling anyone this. I possess the future rune. Majin Luo narrowed his eyes. Future rune. Wes. Tongyi continued, his voice calm. It's a rune that allows me to see the future. In other words, I'm a prophet. The atmosphere in the room grew heavy. Both men listening to him were skeptical. Majin Luo frowned. Are you joking with us? Why would I lie? Tongyi responded smoothly. Majin Luo fell into deep thought. So your consecutive lottery wins were because you used the future rune to see the winning numbers. Exactly. Tongyi affirmed. And the reason I dared to invest all my money in stocks was also thanks to the future rune. Even though it all sounded logical, Majin Luo remained skeptical. Then prove it. Tell me what I'll do next. However, Tongyi had already seen through his intentions using the mind rune. He knew Majin Luo was testing him, possibly with the thought of taking advantage of his ability. Thinking ahead, Tongyi decided it was necessary to impose some limitations on the future rune. He shook his head. The future rune isn't something I can activate at will. It doesn't work like that, so I can't fulfill your request. Majin Luo found this explanation reasonable. A power as strong as seeing the future had to have restrictions. Otherwise, it would be too absurd. Then, as if realizing something, Majin Luo's eyes lit up. Could it be that your 280 billion investment in our company was because of this reason as well? Tongyi nodded. That's right. I invested this money because I saw that Tiama Group would develop rapidly in the future. Hearing this, Majin Luo's heart pounded with excitement. Then just how big will Tiama Group become? Tongyi gave him a confident answer. Within half a year, it will enter the top 500 domestic companies. Majin Luo immediately shot up from his seat, overwhelmed with emotion. If what Tongyi said was true, he wouldn't just gain his father's approval. He might even be chosen as the heir. However, Majin Luo quickly calmed himself. He knew better than to get excited over something uncertain. At this point, Tongyi spoke again. Mr. Ma, if you truly want to succeed, you must change your line of business. Hearing this, Enshangya immediately reacted with agitation. Change the line of business? Why not just change the company name while we're at it? He scoffed. Unexpectedly, Tongyi nodded. That's exactly what we should do. If we're changing industries, the company name should change too. Enshangya was stunned. Mr. Tong, you're joking, right? But Tongyi remained serious. Do I look like I'm joking? We're all participants in the game, so we understand the consequences of revealing our abilities so casually. But despite the risks, I've told you about mine because I want to be more than just a major shareholder. I want to be a business partner. From now on, I'll be involved in the company's management, guiding its growth alongside my own. Even with this explanation, the skepticism in the room didn't fade. Majin Luo and Enshangya exchanged glances, still unsure whether to trust him. Tongyi sighed. It seems you still don't believe in my ability. He then decided to reveal some secrets. For example, this hotel actually belongs to you, right? You're the eldest son of the 5-star group. You secretly established this company to gain your father's approval. Before he could continue, Enshangya suddenly cut him off, his voice laced with anger. Who's behind you? Only Mr. Ma's relatives would know that. Majin Luo's expression darkened. This information doesn't prove your ability. I suspect this might be a setup by my relatives, trying to undermine me in the competition for the heir position. He shook his head. Changing the entire company's business direction based solely on a shareholder's word is ridiculous. That said, I do appreciate your investment. As for the issues you've raised, we'll discuss them at the next shareholders' meeting. With that, he prepared to leave. Just then, Tongyi spoke again. If I give you intelligence about the fourth round of the game, would you believe me? His words froze both Majin Lu and Shangya in place. 10 minutes later, having received the information, Majin Lu was now grinning from ear to ear. And Shangya, however, still looked puzzled. If Monsieur Tong can foresee the future, shouldn't he already be living the best possible life? Why is he helping us? Majin Luo speculated. Simple, he wants to make more money. Greed is boundless, after all. However, deep down, he knew that if Tongyi truly had the ability to foresee the future, securing his partnership at any cost would be invaluable. The advantage of obtaining intelligence before each game round began was immeasurable, and Shangya opened his mouth to speak again, but was stopped by Majin Luo. Time will prove everything, won't it?